So like, go ahead and tell me like where you were born, when, all that crap. Simple stuff.
All right. Social security number.
Perfect.
Yeah, Chaz Miles. I was born in Pueblo, Colorado. Actually, I was born in Denver, Colorado. I was raised in Pueblo, Colorado all my life. Um, yeah, December 29th, 1986. So I'm 25 years old now, getting ready to turn 26, so I'm getting old. Um, what else? My mother and my father are still in Pueblo. Most of my family is. Few scattered throughout Colorado. I have two sisters, one full sister, one half sister. I have one brother. He's a half brother as well. And my brother lives in Virginia. My younger sister lives in California. My older sister is in Denver. So, yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell the specs, if you will.
Yeah, that's simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, what's your educational background?
As far as college is
Yeah.
concerned,
Yeah.
well, I went to Colorado State University out here in Fort Collins, Colorado. I actually played football for the Rams. That's what brought me to Fort Collins. Played wide receiver there for 4 years until I got hurt. I blew my knee, but I still got my degree in communication studies and a minor in religious studies.
Cool.
Yeah.
What'd you do to your knee? Just blew it?
And
ACL?
actually, I didn't blow it. It actually was a kneecap injury. So
Oh,
basically, it was a wear and tear injury, and my kneecap was basically getting grinded into by the rest of there was no
that's
tendons or nothing, so
terrible.
bone on bone.
That's terrible. Ugh.
It feels terrible.
Does it still hurt?
Still, yeah, it still hurts. I mean, I can still be active and stuff. I just can't play, on it like 3 days in a row, like
Yeah.
really hard. I gotta, kind of, if I play a couple days, I gotta kind of take a day off, ice, and do all that stuff.
Right.
I'm getting old.
I know, your knee's older than you are. All right, so are you in Fort Collins now still? Is that where you're living, working,
Yeah,
whatever?
still in Fort
Cool.
Collins.
Love it?
It's nice. I like Fort Collins. It's different. It's different from anywhere I've ever been, but it's definitely nice.
Yeah.
It's the cleanest place I've ever been in my life. For real.
Do you plan on staying there?
We'll see. We'll see. I plan on always having a home somewhere in Colorado, just because I love Colorado. I'm a Colorado boy at heart. But I don't know. We'll see. Fort Collins is nice, and it's been good to me. So as of right now, I don't have any plans on moving, but you never know what God can do.
Right. All right, so what? I don't know. I guess we can just get into the music. It's the important part, right?
Do it.
All right, so when did you start like performing, even like in your bedroom mirror, that kind of stuff?
Well, my first experience with music, really, my grandfather's a pastor in Pueblo, and I grew up in his church. So my first experience with music was in the kids' choir when I was about 5 or 6 years old, and that's where I first learned that I could actually carry a tune. And so I always enjoyed those days, and so that's really where my roots started. They started in the church, in my grandfather's church, and just kind of progressed. And I always did music kind of like just as a hobby. Sports was my number one passion, but music was always kind of a hobby. And so all throughout my growing up in my youth, I would always gravitate toward music and singing and being creative with music and those type of things. I always enjoyed that as kind of an escape or release for me, kind of like sports was as well.
Yeah. Cool. That's awesome. So when did music like take over for
Yeah.
that?
Well, it's funny because when I probably when I went to college, the summer before my true freshman year in college, I would say that my passion for sport had been up here all my life, and my passion for music had kind of been here. And when I came that summer before, then I really started doing music more frequently. I started, like making beats and started rapping and just trying to be more creative with music. So I really started, that summer was kind of a turning point to where it kind of started to do this type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
to where my passion for music was kind of starting to overtake my passion for sport. But I'm still very passionate about sports. My plan in life was to be in the NFL or the NBA and use my platform for Christ. That was my plan, and I was on my way there. But along that journey, right when I got hurt is about when my passion was up here for music. So it wasn't like devastating to me.
Yeah.
Like it can be to some athletes, because I knew God had a plan. It just wasn't my plan. So,
Right.
So music, that's really when it started to become actually overtook as being probably the number one passion in my life.
Yeah. How did it go from like there to where you are now? Like what made it take off?
Yeah, just really working hard work. I remember one summer I counted and I had recorded like 93 songs in just like 3 months. And so I was a studio rat when I first started, and that's really how you really kind of develop as an artist. You just get in there and whatever comes out, you put it down and you see if it works. And a lot of those songs were whack and never they never made it past my ears. But there was some that I really enjoyed. You can and you start to hone your craft there. You start to say, oh, well, I'm good at this. I'm not that good at this. What kind of sound am I trying to go for? And so really, honestly, it went from just being a studio rat basically and trying to get in the studio anytime I could to really trying to hone my craft and study and really develop as an artist, and as doing this for a profession.
Right.
So basically, it kind of just started as me just fooling around in the studio, and it became something that I hope I've become a little bit good at. So.
Yeah. Where was this studio? Like, what was it, through the school, or was it just like a separate?
It was a basic bum home studio. I mean, we had one computer, we had I think we had one keyboard, and we had one microphone, and we had like an MPC drum machine that we were using, and it basically started from there.
That's
and
awesome.
we were in there, and we were making music, and it was fun. It was some of the funnest times of my life, just because. It was free, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just in there, just like, we didn't know nothing about no management. We knew nothing about, no performing. We were just in there doing what we felt was what came out. We just feel it, whatever we felt, we put it on the track, and it was actually a really fun time. It was me and my cousin mostly when that started.
That's awesome. So like, when did the big break happen? Like when you just like were like, oh, someone like recognized this. I'm all right.
Actually, I got an email. Actually, I got a MySpace message. Back when MySpace kind of was still around.
Awesome.
And I got a MySpace message from an intern at a consultant and management group out of Beverly Hills, California, and they were interested in what I was doing. They liked what I was doing, and so they basically reached out to me through there, and through that relationship kind of built more relationships, and came into a management opportunity and learned a lot through that management. That was really a growth time for me as an artist. Kind of how do you make this work? How do you make this something that you can do? How does the business side of it work? How does and there's so many different things that pertain to this music industry that you don't know, just trying to do music. So really through that time and through that relationship, they kind of honed my skills and really kind of try to get me to a place where I was actually, being booked and having a project and having music that, that could go to the people that was actually of good quality and wasn't just thrown together. So.
Yeah. So like who I don't even know. What like you're with, what's your label or whatever now? Is it?
Well, I'm an independent artist right now.
Right now?
So Heartbeat is kind of the label that we work out of.
Yeah.
And so right now it's just all independent.
Okay.
So I don't have an actual record label per se.
Right.
So I basically am my own brand. I am my own label.
So that is Heartbeat is like you guys.
Yeah. Okay. That's my team. That's the vision. It all kind of one umbrella.
That's sweet.
It's kind of what we do. So yeah.
So who is your musical role model?
Musical role models. Good question. I think I was a huge Michael Jackson fan growing up. Still am to this day. So I think Michael Jackson he influenced everybody. It doesn't matter black or white, like if you like country or if you like reggae, you still know who Michael Jackson is.
Yeah.
You still probably appreciate what he did as an artist. So Michael Jackson, I would say I have a lot of roots in gospel music too as well. The Kirk Franklins, the Fred Hammonds, those type of people I listen to. But I also, my parents were big on music, so I remember days just, hanging out with my dad or my mom, and we would just play music and just hang out. So the Earth, Wind and Fires were huge. The OJs, the Temptations. I'm a huge Motown guy. Musically, hip hop wise, probably who influenced me most hip hop wise. When I was young, when I was little, the first taste of gospel hip hop or Christian hip hop I ever had was the Gospel Gangsters. And they were like a crew out of the West Coast, and they were the first Christian hip hop I ever heard. I mean, up until that point, I never heard Christian hip hop.
Yeah.
But I grew up on like the Nellies and the Jay-Z's and all them, and I was Kanye. I think what Kanye does is I think you can say what you want about him personally, but musically he's definitely a huge influence on music, on hip hop and culture and all that. So those are some of my roots, from Kirk Franklin all the way to Kanye West to the Temptations, all the way up to the Cray and what they're doing now at Reach. And so I'm kind of a hybrid, if you will.
Yeah. So what? Oh, interesting. What do you want people to think and say when they are asked about Chaz Miles music? What do you want them to think, say, whatever?
Sure. I think music in general, it makes you feel something. I mean, a lot of the songs or a lot of artists who are great artists, they made you feel something, or they told a story and were trying to get something across. For me, I don't think it's any different. I think, every artist wants to take you somewhere, because music moves people. But I guess the question that every artist asks before they do anything is, where do we want to move them to? Where do we want to move the people to? And for me, it's a message of hope, a message of faith, a message of positivity. I'm not trying to fire hose shove Jesus down everybody's throat, but I'm trying to give people a message of hope, a message of faith. I always tell people I make music for life. I'm a follower of Christ, so that's going to come through in my music, and a lot of it's going to come through a lot of it because it's the most important thing in my life. But I've also had my heart broken, so I might there's songs about that.
Yeah.
I've also I've been around a lot of weddings and seen that situation go. So I have a song, a wedding song that I wrote, and so there's a lot of things that that as an artist, areas and different avenues you can go in. But when overall in general, whether it's a worship song or whether it's a hip hop song, I just want people to take away. Man, that made me feel good. That whether it was about something serious or whether it was just a fun song that you could ride to in the summertime, I want people to be influenced positively by listening to my music,
right.
And saying, something about that song made me, it changed my mood from maybe negative, and not seeing any hope to at least I'm smiling, and now I have some hope for tomorrow,
right.
or just a different feeling than I did before I listened to the record. So
That's awesome. It's pretty cool. All right. So I know you were obviously at UTC, but how'd you get connected with AIA that way?
Well, I actually was a camper at UTC my true freshman year. After my true freshman year summer, I actually camped. I did the camp. Jeff Pryor. He was like, you need to come to this camp, Chaz. You need to come to this camp. So I was like, okay, I'll go to the camp. Went to the camp. It rocked my world as far as I never heard anything about, God and sport and being one and taking it. To me, it was always God is watching me play, not really helping me play. So that kind of rocked my world. And to be honest with you, the music, when I went to camp, wasn't that great. But no disrespect to anybody who may see this who may have been doing music at that camp, but it was just kind of not great. And so I had started leading worship at a church and stuff. And so the next year I was like, I came back to intern and started helping out with worship at UTC. And so it was kind of a cool little thing that kind of happened, and it has evolved even since my first year of doing worship. So
yeah, I know me and my roommate at least were always like, are we gonna sing yet? Because like we just want to sing. So that's good. It was definitely positive then.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So speaking of which, is the UTC band ever gonna like do anything, or you
We're
guys
working
just
on it.
hanging
It's
out?
hard for us because everybody's in different places in the country, and so we are working on it though. So hopefully by UTC of this year, we'll have an actual project and something that people can take with them.
It's awesome.
Use as a resource.
It's awesome. All right. So what's your experience in using like mediums besides just like vocals? Like, do you like create your own beats? How? Yeah.
Yeah, I've produced before. I make beats. It's funny because I don't use a lot of the beats that I make. I don't know why. It's just sometimes it's hard to write to my own beats because I've heard them so much, I guess. Yeah. And so, but I do produce like for other artists and make beats and stuff. Do some production there. That type of stuff as well. So I do definitely produce. And other mediums, you mean besides singing or besides like the vocal side of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, rapping is something I like to do. Also, I like songwriting is something that I like. I love to do songwriting, and I'm starting to get more into starting to write songs with other artists in mind. Really not sing, not for me, but this song being for this person, which is something cool I've never done before, but it's actually working out to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So.
It's awesome. All right. Where or what has been your favorite performance so far? Why?
Wow. Man, there's been so many cool atmospheres, It's hard to pick just one.
I mean, I could take a couple. It's fine.
Heaven Fest was a good one. Was a really cool one. It was a big festival here in Colorado. It was like 50,000 people there, and they had like 8 different stages. And it was a cool event to be a part of. That was a really cool one. I did this camp in Estes Park. It was like a youth camp. There was like 5,000 youth there. And that was a cool one because they were just rowdy. Like they were just losing their minds. And honestly, I really do look forward to camp every year. I look forward. That's always a highlight on my calendar. That Friday night, that Saturday night, that last session in worship, I know is gonna be pretty sick. Yeah. So I always look forward to that as well.
That's awesome. All right, I guess we can transition into your future.
Sure.
That's scary. All right, so what are like your goals with just your music in general? Where do you want to see it in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years? Like, what's your plan for now?
Yeah. I think one of the questions God asked me when I was I had to quit playing football, and I asked him the question and said, well, why did you put me here? Like, why did you put me on this earth if it's not to do what I thought, it was to do? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how Heartbeat came along, and the vision and all of that stuff. But one of the questions in that was, how many, I felt like God asked me, how many people could Kanye West positively affect or win to Christ or share a message of faith and hope? Like, how many people could he influence for the good? Or Lady Gaga or Beyonce or any of these major artists who sell out arenas about, everywhere that they go. How much could they do as far as positive work, as far as, that gospel message? If all they had to do was open their mouths and say, this is what Jesus has done for me in my life. And so the ultimate goal is to be in the same breath category with those artists that I just named. Not for me, not so I can, say, oh, we packed out, I'm tired, I packed out in a arena. But to say, this is the only reason I'm here is because of Jesus and what He's done in my life.
Right.
And to share that message of hope, that message of faith, that message of love to the masses of people. Because music is powerful. It's powerful. It's just like sports. Sports is so powerful, and music is just equally as powerful. So if we could use that to affect the world in a positive manner, what things could happen? A lot of dope things could happen. But the music industry today just promotes a negative message, and for the most part, and so it's not doing much positivity as far as content, as far as there's a lot of artists out there who are philanthropists and all that, and we're not talking about that, but we're talking about a message. What kind of message are we sending to people? So I want to, like I said, my goal is to be one of the biggest artists in the world. Like, not just Christian music, not just in the world, and in that, to use that platform to influence people in a positive way.
Okay. So how do you plan to continue down that path? Like, how do you plan to keep being more and more successful as you go forward?
Yeah. Well, in this industry, like many, it's about relationships. It's all about relationships. It's not about what you know. It's about who you know. And so building relationships is something that's really important to me, because you just never know. You never know who you might come across who may look like it has it all together, but just needs a hug or a firm handshake and say, hey, how you doing today? And so these things, it's not just the music and trying to be a big artist, but it's an everyday thing. It's kind of I have an album called The Difference, and I love to just say be the difference, because I believe that you got to be the difference that you want to see in the world. And so I want to impact the people who listen to music, but I also want to impact the industry itself and the people who run the industry. And so I plan to do that by continuing to build relationships. If the door's open, I'll sign a major record deal. There's been talks of those things on the table already, but the right deal has to come along. The right deal, and so I'd be open to that. And as far as we can take it, social media nowadays has made it so you can reach a lot of people, and not have to be signed to a major label or this, that, and the other thing. So, but yeah, as many doors as God wants to open is as many doors as I want to walk through.
Right.
And so, with His direction and with His guidance to make the right moves, because you can make as many moves as you want, but if they're all the wrong moves, then it's kind of like making, you're going to go backwards instead of forward. So, I'm going to continue to make music. I'm going to continue to write. I'm going to continue to build relationships, and I'm going to let God handle the rest.
Cool. So, if you lost music tomorrow, what would you do to make money, to live?
Wow.
It's deep, right?
Deep. Well, I don't know. That's a good question. I've always been the type of person who's I like fast paced, hustle. You know what I mean? So a 9 to 5 would not be my gig.
Yeah.
I'd have to be a salesperson or in some kind of sales, because I've never liked. To me, it doesn't make sense. Because I used to work. I had a job at Little Caesars when I was in high school, and to me, okay, we're all getting paid $8 an hour, $7.50 an hour. I'm busting my butt. This person over here is not doing nothing, and we're still getting paid the same.
Right.
So to me, that never made sense. So I've always kind of been okay, I got to be in something that will allow me to earn as much as I'm working. If I work hard at it, I'm going to make more. If I don't, then it's my own fault.
Right.
So I'll probably be in some kind of sales, some kind of high, fast-paced sales. But I also might do the coaching thing, just because sports is still. I'm an athlete at heart, and coaching would be a fun gig, I think, especially on the college level. Yeah. College level would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's my goal. All right. So besides having using music for a positive platform, what do you want like, what do you want to accomplish before you and music, like, have to go your separate ways?
Yeah. I want to be, honestly, one of my goals is to be the first Christian, hip hop, R&B, whatever you want to call me, artist to go platinum. There hasn't been an artist that has gone platinum. There's been artists that have sold more than 1 million records, but that has been multiple records over time. There hasn't, at least to my knowledge, there hasn't been an album or an artist to go platinum as far as one record is concerned. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of my goals. Like any artist, you want to reach the highest, accomplishments you can. So that means Grammys. That means any award you can think of. I want to win those things. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't want to win those things, because I do. Mm-hmm. And I think that as artists, you should strive to want to be the best that you can be, and be recognized by your peers as such. But the difference is, when I do win those things, it's not going to be about me. Right. It's going to be about something that's much bigger than me. So.
Cool. Right. So who or what group, I guess, is someone you'd want to study under, like music-wise?
That's a good question. It's a great question. I would love to hang out with Kirk Franklin for a while and just kind of see, how things grow with him. I'd also like to follow like a band like U2 or somebody like the Red Hot Chili Peppers or something like that, and just see like what's their process, like what's the creative process behind what you're doing, how do y'all prepare for a show, and how do you know what I'm saying, those type of things. And some of the old artists would be cool to kind of be mentored by and study art, like the old school artists that maybe aren't as big anymore, but they were like pretty big back in their day. Kind of think of like some of them that are still alive, because most of them aren't alive. But like a Stevie Wonder, like I wonder, you know what I'm saying? I wonder how's it with Stevie or some of those old cats that have gone before us. So that would be cool. Also, like, it'd be fun too to sit under Toby Mac and see how his whole situation is, because he has a pretty big following. He's kind of in his own lane and doing his own thing, and it'd be fun to pick his brain a little bit too.
Yeah. So would you consider yourself like a student of music?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think you have to be a student. You have to stay being a student of your craft if you want to continue to grow and be successful, because it changes so much. What was hot last year, 2 years ago, is not going to be hot next year. And so you have to continue to learn, continue to grow, continue to be a student of what others have done, both good and bad. So you learn from their mistakes and you take what they did well and you make it your own. But you have to be a student of the game. If you're not, then you're definitely not going to make it in this business at all.
Cool. All right, last one. It's a big one.
All
right. What legacy do you want to leave behind? Music-wise and not music-wise. Life-wise, I guess.
I think personally, as a man, I heard a wise man once say, I think it was my grandpa. He said that it's better to be a good man than it is to be the man. Because there's a lot of people that you would say, oh man, he's the man, but when you dig down, you wouldn't want to know them if they weren't famous, So for me, I think whether I've met somebody and talked to them for 10 minutes or whether somebody's known me for, my whole life, I want them to look at, and when I'm gone, when I'm dead and gone, to say that, he always treated me the right way. He always encouraged me in a positive way to do good things. And he followed his life. His life echoed Christ. Meaning, they could say at the end of the day, man, I know Chaz walked with God. And that would be good enough for me, because if that were the case, then that would mean I was a good father, I was a good brother, I was a good friend. to a lot of people. And so,
Fair.
music-wise, I would say the same thing. Music-wise, also I would say that whether you heard, like I said, whether you heard one of my songs or whether you were a huge fan and you know every record and every word, that you were positively impacted by what I had to say and what I put on wax and what came out. And if you ever went to one of my shows, that you could say that they turned up. They turned up at the show. And so that you left the show, you didn't leave my show the same way you came.